What's up guys, my name is Ace, and welcome back to another gun guide. This is the series where I go into great detail with all of the stats as well as some excellent attachment combinations for every gun in Call of Duty Vanguard. And in today's episode, we're going to be moving on to the ITRA Burst. And starting it off, as always, let's have a look at our damage profile. Up close, we deal 31 damage to the torso, and at a distance, we deal 22 to the torso, but it is worth noting that it'll take the exact same number of shots to kill if we're hitting limbs, so we don't even really need to hit those torso shots. And it is, of course, worth noting this is a burst rifle, and it's a 4-round burst, so that means we can get a 1-burst kill as long as all of our bullets are hitting. As for our head and neck damage, we're going to be dealing 43 damage up close and 31 at a distance, and what this means is up close, just one single headshot mixed in with body shots will now make this a 3-shot kill, which means it'll be much more consistent with those 1-burst kills. As for our rate of fire, within each burst, our rate of fire is roughly 857 rounds per minute, and then we have a roughly 150 millisecond burst delay between each burst. What this means for our time to kill potential is if we get that 1-burst kill up close, it'll be a 210 millisecond time to kill, which is very fast. However, if we have to take that 5th shot to kill, this will drop all the way off to 430 milliseconds, which is very, very slow. And this is generally what you expect with a burst rifle. It's got a great killing potential, but it is unforgiving due to that burst delay. Then let's talk about our bullet velocity. This is standard for assault rifles at 885 meters per second, and this is a great bullet velocity as well. Now let's get into our range values, which as you can see here, we've got an excellent range drop off at about 64 meters, which is going to be covering the vast majority of practical lines of sight in Vanguard's multiplayer. Then getting into hardcore game modes, in the maximum damage range for the ITRA, it will be a 1-bullet kill anywhere in the torso, neck, or head. Not a 1-burst kill, but just one of your bullets within the burst has to hit that. Whereas at a distance, when you drop off to the minimum damage range, this is where you have to hit the head or the neck if you want to get a 1-bullet kill. But of course, if you are using this in burst mode, you're going to get very consistent 1-burst kills in hardcore game modes. After that, though, let's have a look at our hipfire, which, as you can see here, it is not great for an assault rifle. This is to be expected with a burst gun, though. And now let's move into idle sway, which is very important on a burst rifle. And as you can see here, there is some slow movement while aiming down sight, but it's really not that bad. It is fairly easy to manage and deal with. Now, more importantly, we have our recoil, which, as you can see here, with no attachments on this gun, it really doesn't have much recoil. It's basically just the recoil within each burst, and it will very consistently recenter itself before the next burst is fired, so you can fire this as fast as you possibly can, and it's not going to climb super high on you. And this is where I also wanted to discuss the aim down sight spread, or the inherent inaccuracy with the gun. And with this, there's a little bit of aim down sight spread on the ITRA, but it's not that bad. This generally shouldn't be causing any issues for you whatsoever. As for handling, our aim down sight time is pretty much average for an assault rifle at 250 milliseconds. Same thing goes with our sprint to fire time. This is basically bang on average for assault rifles, nothing out of the ordinary here. And then let's get into our reload add time, which is a little bit on the slow side at 1.89 seconds. And this just leaves us with mobility, which is a little bit slower than average for assault rifles, but not by a large margin by any means. I would say this is right around the average mark for assault rifles. So that's the base version of the ITRA Burst. Now let's move into the very important attachments, and we'll start it off with barrels. And the first thing I want to look at is the recoil changes that we get with these barrels, which, as you can see here, the first barrel doesn't really seem to change recoil at all. The second barrel, this one really allows the gun to climb, and this is due to a smaller burst delay, so there's just not enough time for the gun to recenter between each burst. So you're still getting roughly the same amount of recoil within the burst, it's just able to climb more. It's a similar story, but to a much smaller extent with the third barrel, the 140mm barrel. That one does climb a little bit as well, but it does recenter slightly better than the previous one. And then finally, for the final barrel, this one makes this gun very, very accurate. As for how these barrels will affect our range values, the first barrel is great. This boosts our 1-burst kill range out to 104 meters, which is pretty crazy. Then the next 2 barrels, they don't change our ranges, but our time to kill values will change slightly due to different fire rates. And then finally, for that 4th barrel, this one will turn it into a 5 to 6 shot kill, which significantly harms our time to kill potential because we can no longer get a 1-burst kill. Now, let's dive a little bit deeper into the individual barrels that impact our time to kill potential. And the first one that does this is the second barrel. And with this, our rate of fire within each burst is improved up to about 900 rounds per minute. Our burst delay is also reduced down to about 117 milliseconds. And this is where we see that ability for the gun to climb more as you're firing burst after burst. As for our time to kill potential, our one burst time to kill potential is only very slightly improved down to 200 milliseconds from 210, so you really won't even notice a difference there. The big improvement comes from that reduced burst delay, because now if we have to get that fifth shot off, or that second burst, we're going to be getting that fifth shot off at 384 milliseconds compared to 430 milliseconds, which is a very noticeable difference. So this barrel is just much more forgiving, but the high recoil will hold it back at range. So it's decent for a really close range barrel, but if you're trying to stretch your ranges out and still maintain a one burst kill potential, it's not likely to happen consistently. But after that, let's move into the third barrel, and this one will also improve our rate of fire, but it turns out with this, based on my measurements, it doesn't change the rate of fire within each burst. However, it very significantly improves your burst delay, even more so than the previous barrel, down to 100 milliseconds. So this is even more forgiving in that area. And again, it does allow you to get that fifth shot off significantly faster than you can if you're not using one of these barrel attachments. So again, this one is great if you're being a bit more aggressive and maybe a little sloppy with your aim and you're not going for one burst kills all the time. And if you guys remember, the recoil pattern on this was also better compared to the previous one, so I actually prefer this over the previous one if I'm trying to boost my fire rate. But finally for barrels, we have the fourth one, and this is the one that turns it into a 5 to 6 shot kill, so it eliminates your one burst kill potential. However, at the same time, it massively boosts our headshot multiplier, and in the maximum damage range, we're dealing 79 damage to the head, which means just one shot to the upper torso and one shot to the head will give us a 2-shot kill with this gun for a 140 millisecond time to kill. So this is the type of thing where you're sacrificing consistency for potential. If you can always make sure that at least one of the bullets in your burst hits the head, this barrel is absolutely incredible. However, the moment you don't hit a headshot with a burst, this makes your gun far worse than it would have been with even no attachments equipped whatsoever. So this one is great for headshot challenges and great for people that are super confident in their aim and their ability to land a headshot. Otherwise, I wouldn't recommend it. So there we have it. We finally made it through all the barrel attachments. There's a lot going on with those. Now let's quickly move into the magazines. And again, we're going to start this off with recoil. As you can see here, if we're using the 6.5 Securo rounds, this will reduce our recoil a little bit, although not by a large margin. It just makes smaller bullet holes in the walls, so it makes it look more accurate than it actually is. In either case, it is still very accurate. And then we have 303 British, which again, this one does seem to be roughly the same amount of accuracy compared to the base recoil. We just have smaller bullet holes in the wall. Then when we look at the ranges with these magazine attachments, as you can see here, both of them will eliminate our one burst kill potential, and they're now going to be a 5-shot kill at any range, which is not looking very good for these. But let's dive a little bit deeper to see if there are some redeeming qualities. And we'll start it off with those 6.5 Securo rounds, which, like I said, you lose your one burst kill potential. It's now going to be a 5-shot kill at any range. However, our rate of fire is improved up to about 900 rounds per minute within each burst with a 117 millisecond burst delay. Essentially what this means though is our time to kill up close is now 384 milliseconds, which is not competitive by any means. However, if we're comparing the 5-shot kill with this gun compared to the 5-shot kill of the base version of the gun, we do technically get a better time to kill there, but that's not even close to being worth it. Stay far away from this attachment. As for the 303 British magazine, this is a very similar story with just slightly different numbers, so it actually improves our rate of fire within the burst a little bit more than the previous one, but we lose that one burst kill potential, and as a result, just stay away from this. There's no reason to be using this attachment. And with that, that finally wraps it up for the important attachments I wanted to mention. Now let's get into our recommended class setups, and the first one I've got for you guys, this is just the one burst killer. This thing is insane at getting one burst kills. It's very, very consistent. And the main reason it's so consistent is our proficiency. This is the vital proficiency, which is unfortunately one of the last unlocks for this gun. But once you get that, that massively improves your consistency because with this, we are now dealing 43 damage to the upper torso. And it's actually kind of hard to not hit a bullet within your burst to the upper torso if you're shooting an enemy player. And what this means is it's now going to be a 3-shot kill very consistently to the body. And when you get a 3-shot kill with this, our time to kill potential is 140 milliseconds. It's insanely fast. It's also quite forgiving. Even if you miss one of your bullets from your burst, you still have a great one burst kill potential. This is also extremely accurate. There's basically no recoil whatsoever with this. And it has an incredible range value thanks to that barrel that we're using at about 97 meters. Overall, if you're looking for the best one burst kill potential, this is the setup to be using right here. And this is my favorite ITRA setup so far. Now, there is one question I wanted to address here that I anticipate I'll be getting in this video. Will Vital stack with the headshot boosting barrel? The one that gives us 79 damage to the head. Will that extend that to the upper torso? And the answer to that is no, it will not do that. So Vital combined with that barrel is completely useless and you're wasting your proficiency. In either case, that's the first setup. Now let's move on to the second one. And I wanted to make this setup without the Vital proficiency since it is such a late unlock. Just to show you guys that there are other ways to run this. Once you get Vital unlocked though, you should absolutely be using it on your class setup. But with this, what I'm doing is optimizing for rate of fire over everything. So we've got the recoil booster as well as that 140mm rapid barrel. So this one is very clearly designed for more close to mid-range encounters. You're not going to be getting crazy one-burst kills across the map with this. Instead, this one's designed to be able to put consistent, quick bursts down range as fast as possible. And with this one, you can see you can get those bursts off very, very quickly, so it's great for dealing with multiple enemies, or if your aim's just a little bit on the sloppy side. And if you manage to get a one-burst kill, since our rate of fire is so fast, our time to kill potential is 150 milliseconds for a 4-shot kill, which is really nice. And even if we require that second burst, it's only going to take us 317 milliseconds to get that 5th shot off. Now, this is slower than the average time to kill in this game, so it isn't the most forgiving gun out there, but it is far more forgiving than if you weren't running these attachments and required that second burst. It's kind of the best that you can do if you want those rapid bursts without losing our one-burst kill potential entirely. It's also worth noting I tried to build this to have fairly solid handling because it's designed to be used much more aggressively in more close quarter situations. And yeah, there you have it. That's just an alternative to the ITRA. Like I said, I definitely prefer that first setup, and that's the way I would recommend running it. This is just an alternative for you. And with that, that's going to wrap it up for today's gun guide on the ITRA Burst. As for my opinion on this gun, I think it's actually very underrated. I think a lot of people haven't really put the time in to realize just how good this can be, especially once you get that Vital proficiency on there, because once you do that, this is a very consistent one-burst killer. Additionally, something I haven't mentioned yet in this video is if you don't like this gun in burst mode, you can just swap it over to semi-auto, and it's pretty decent as a semi-auto gun as well, so you could always use it that way. But of course, those are just my opinions on this. I'd like to hear from you guys in the comment section below. What do you think of the ITRA Burst in Call of Duty Vanguard? Do you agree with me? Do you think it is really underrated, or do you just not really like it too much? Also, if you guys have missed any of the previous episodes of Gun Guides, I will of course leave a link to the playlist in the description down below. If you enjoyed the video, a like rating is always appreciated, and don't forget to subscribe for more if you haven't already. I'll talk to you guys next time.